Hello, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to Wow, Love Light Inspire the podcast, where we speak to amazing, inspirational women on a variety of interesting topics, which I hope you will love just as much as me. Now, I'm Lorraine Roberts, your host, and I help people get started in new businesses, find direction, get into action, and beat procrastination. Now, you can find me on the Facebook group Women of Love, Light and Inspiration Community. Come join us there. We post all sorts of things daily, so there'll be something of interest and you can connect with us all. Now, today, we're going to be speaking to Tammy De Mirza. Oh my God, you're going to love this woman. After speaking to her, look, I decided to work with her, and we're going to be speaking about being an old soul and what it means and how we deal with this. So I'm sure you're going to love it. Now, if you do, please come back. New episodes are released every Friday, and I would love you to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends and let everyone know about us. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, or the website, www.lovelightinspire.com. Tammy, lovely to see you today.
Thank you. Good to see you.
I'd love you to tell the listeners about you because you have an amazing story, an amazing background, and where you've come from and where you are now are just like miles apart. And I think so many people can resonate with that because I certainly can.
Yeah, well, every single person has supernatural experiences, but how many of us actually talk about it? I mean, really talk about it, because we are paying more attention to what's going on physically and what's going on emotionally rather than spiritually, physically, and emotionally. And this happened to me when I was 11 years old. I actually had a Southern Baptist pastor come to see my grandmother, and he asked me if I knew about God, and I said no. And he asked me if I knew about Jesus, and I said no. Who are these fellows? And he was talking to me and my sister, who's about 19 months older than me. So at the end of that conversation, he said, do you want to ask Jesus into your heart? And I said, well, how do I know if he comes? If I say yes. How do I know if I say this sinner's prayer? I didn't even know what sinners was. And I remember telling the man, this talk about heaven and hell does not feel good to me, but the talk about love, I don't have. I need love. So if these two men represent love, I want them.
Oh, I love
because
it.
I said out loud, I'm not loved. I'm not loved. And my grandmother and my mother were sitting there. And so when I said the sinner's prayer, I go to bed, my sister says it, and then the next day, I'm different. As soon as I woke up, I knew that I was different. I must have had some of these abilities to read energy because I didn't like hell and heaven. That didn't feel good to me. And then I found out later why, because hell was not even introduced in the Bible until the 1300s. It wasn't in the original script and the original text. Seriously.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
And women being submissive was not put in there until 1610. So man has retranslated and retranslated and retranslated to what they wanted during that time. And we're still trying to live by that. Now, what I tell people is that I really did. I said, I need love because I'm not loved. So to me, accepting that concept was bringing love in as an 11-year-old. That's what I did. So then within the first 2 weeks, Lorraine, I don't like the same people. I don't like the same food. I don't like the same music. I don't like anything the same. And I went to my sister and said, hey, are you different? He said that we'd be born again, would be different. Everything is different. Everything. What colors I like, everything is different. And she's like, no, nothing changed. And I said, well, based on what this pastor said, do you think I got saved and you didn't? She said, yeah, probably. And that was that. So then I started getting information. It's almost like some people have the near-death experience or they get deathly ill and they come back and all of a sudden, or lightning strikes them, or they have a car accident, and because they might have transitioned for a minute, came back, I supernaturally changed. So I started giving readings at the age of 11 years old to all of my fellow classmates. And I was called a counselor in junior high and high school because I had an unbelievable amount of wisdom to impart that other kids didn't know.
Wow.
It's an interesting thing to experience, to be so different. Then that became painful in my 20s because I'm the freak on the block and people are coming to me and I'm scanning their bodies and telling them what's wrong with them health-wise and what the doctors are saying and laying my hands on them, and they're getting healed. Every single one of them, every single person that came to me was healed. And then I started to realize, I think there's something off with that because for some reason, I'm not an arrow pointing you to spirit, God, love, universe, however, source, however you want to frame that. I felt like I was more of a stop sign and people would just come and use me and then leave. And then I started realizing that these really supernatural healings, Loren, was like, I got more excited than they did. And I mean, a man healed of cancer 6 weeks before he's supposed to die. It is no more. Tumors are gone. No need for surgery, no need for death, no need. And they're not that excited. And I was like, something's off with this. So I was giving all this information. I was doing readings my entire life since I was 11. I was reading the energy, and that was something that happened to me because we didn't really go to church when I was little. And then when we did, I started reading the Bible and I would feel such love. I would say, I can't take it. I can't take it. I feel like my body is going to explode. I was reading it. And then there were other verses in the Bible that I would read and go, oh, this feels awful. I wanted to throw the book across the room, but because I was so respectful, I wouldn't let the Bible hit the floor. So I just go put it down and I wouldn't touch it for weeks. And then when I got older, I started finding out why, because I was asking the questions. Why does this feel good? And why does this feel bad? From an 11-year-old, 15-year-old, 13-year-old's perspective, you're speaking from those vernaculars. You're speaking from a very simplistic way of, why am I knowing things that other people don't know? That was difficult. And that's when I started realizing it in my 20s, was that I thought because I knew something, I'm supposed to tell you. But that wasn't the case. So I went through a lot of pain because I was telling it, because in a way I felt obligated, if that makes sense. I felt obligated because I know something you don't know. I'm different. I want to fit in. I never did fit in. And that's what older souls try to do. We try to fit in and we don't. So why don't we just be ourselves and fly that freak flag and let them come or let them run? I'm good with either one.
Oh God, I hear you so much. Actually, and I see my whole family in a lot of what you said then, actually.
A lot of people will, and that's one of the commonalities of older souls. You're the only one in your family like you, and nobody really understands you. So when I was in junior high, people started saying to me after they would meet my family, where did you come from? You're not like these people. And I was like, really? This is my parents. This is my sisters, but then the family started saying, when people would come over, my mother would just automatically say, yeah, we know she's an alien. She's adopted. She doesn't belong to us. I did birth her, but she doesn't belong to us. My mother actually would say that.
Oh my God.
So you feel very alone.
Yeah.
Feel very alone in an environment like that when you're speaking and they're not getting it. And furthermore, they don't want to hear it. That's the commonalities of older souls as well.
Yeah.
You're speaking about things that to you, because of your awareness, because of your sensitivities, because of it's like you come in as a sage or an old person as a kid, and you know things that the rest of the people in the family don't. So when you speak them, the family gets upset. They want you to be quiet. They teach you we're not comfortable with who you are. We don't like you being different. We don't like you telling us these things. We don't want to have to change. Leave me alone. When
My
I
mother
begged
used to,
my dad, yeah, you understand this. When I
my,
begged
my,
my dad, and
my
I
mother used
told him,
to say, you know, children should be seen and not heard. In my day, children were seen and not heard. And I used to say to her, but if I didn't talk to you, I'd have no one to talk to
well,
because I
you
was an
didn't really
only
have them
child.
to talk to. You didn't have
No,
them to talk to either.
no.
And so we start to have throat chakra issues because we're told, close it, stop it, close it, stop, hide, conceal, don't feel it,
Mm.
don't be yourself. We're not comfortable with you. And
Yep,
so in my
massive
20s was
tumor.
very difficult. Mhm.
Yeah, I've had a massive tumor removed from my throat.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah.
yeah.
Not
10
surprised.
centimeter, 10 centimeter tumor that they'd only seen one larger than. Yeah.
We do it big, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
Which is another commonality of an older soul. We do everything big. We're dramatic.
Absolutely. So
Mhm.
what are some of the signs of being an old soul? You know, because I mean, I didn't get that stuff at 11, although my son did. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, and I just knew I was different. I mean, I was always different, and all I wanted to do, my whole entire life has all been about fitting in. It's all I've wanted to do is fit in, and I've never fitted in, you know.
Right.
And at my age now, I don't care whether I fit in. I just want to be me. But there's still times when I just shut my mouth and just don't talk,
Mhm.
you know.
Because it's exhausting to try to explain, because it's simple for you, you see it,
Mm,
but they don't see it. And then to try to explain it is like pulling teeth. That's a phrase here in
mm,
the States. It's like pulling your teeth to
mm.
try to explain it, because you have to go from A to Z on something that is so simple. And to you, it's not rocket science. To you,
No.
this is easy. Why don't you get it? This is
Yeah.
this is one of the most simple things for you to get. Why don't you get it? So
Yeah.
everything that we're talking about is the symptoms of older souls. Every single thing that I have
Mm,
brought up so far is about symptoms of older souls. So we're an anomaly in the family. We do things very dramatically. And what is interesting about that, and there's an ebook that's going to come out for people that want to sign up for my email list. There's an ebook that's going to be free. And I actually talk about that part of it, of what the family and the friends do when you are so dramatic. When you're doing negative things, they're like putting you down. But when you do positive things, they are like, well, how come this great thing happened to you? As if you're not dramatic in both things. You're dramatic in good, you're dramatic in bad. So older souls, I would say, make a big splash. You know, instead of being a little goldfish in the pond, we're like the whale. So when we move, when we shift, when we speak, when we are in the presence of people, it's a large presence. And it's not really that large. It's that the vibration, the sound, the color, the feeling is a higher pitch. And it's kind of unfamiliar to people who simply aren't as far along in the journey. Every single one of us are in the same journey. But if, they call it climbing the rungs of the ladder or climbing on top of the mountain,
mm.
think about it from this perspective. And this is a very easy way to talk about it, is you're in the forest, you're lost. Did you know that 90% of the time you will circle around, even if you take a different route, you're going to circle around to where you got lost? Well, somebody that has awareness, and as you move spiritually, clearing, getting rid of the pains, understanding the purpose of why people mistreated you and why you got yourself in these dramatic positions. As you clear, you're moving up, and then at some point you get above the tree line. Well, imagine if the person down there, and it's like we're seeing people lost, hungry, crying, pitching fits, and we're at this space of, well, right there's the creek, right there's the bridge, right there's where you go get food. You understand, that's kind of some of the symptoms of being an older soul, is that your awareness is greater, your sensitivities are greater, and you don't know why you know it and they don't. And so it can be very painful because you're trying to fit in, but you don't fit in. There was a point in my late 20s when I started realizing I'm really different, and all I want to do is be normal. I actually threatened God and said, take this away from me.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to live like this.
Yep. Yeah.
And for 13 years, I didn't. 13 years, I didn't. But I went through a divorce. I bought a house. I established myself in a business. I did a lot in those 13 years. And then all of a sudden, somebody handed me a book. And as soon as I touched it, I went, oh, here it comes again. Because I had said, I want to do everything that I do based on love. I know that as a healer, somebody who can scan a body, touch them heal, because I believe that every single person can heal, but I don't believe that every single person wants to be healed. Being sick for some people is serving a purpose.
Absolutely.
And I've seen people that want that attention, and that's the only way they can get it is by being sick or ill.
And they don't realize it.
Right. They don't realize it. But there you go again. You're above the tree level and you're seeing very clearly what's going on, but the people that are living it don't. So you're like the weird person going, well, if you just go 100 yards and take a right, then there's a bridge, and then there's a picnic area, and there's a family over there and they'll feed you. You know, it's a little harder to be in that space. So we came to make big impacts, and we feel that pressure. To make a big impact, we know we came to serve humanity. It's really not that at all. What you're feeling is that your curriculum is so big. And if you step into it, if you do it, then your impact is big, whether you're doing something that is higher purpose, you're doing your life purpose, or you are living small, you're doing it big, because that's who you are.
And I spent all my childhood, my teen years, everything trying to be so small so no one could see me, but so I fitted in. You didn't really, because
people know that you're different, and they take and they use and they're jealous, and they don't really know what to do with you. So you're convenient for a little while, and then, or you ever do it for them and they don't treat you the same. I remember there was a friend that I had that every birthday I was so good to her, but every birthday I had, nothing. It wasn't the same. And part of that is that you have the awareness. So you're reading people and you know what people need, and you know how to touch them, how to love them, how to reach them with the heart energy, and they don't know how to do it back. So I remember being hurt. This was like 5 or 6 years. I'm like, how come at my birthday, we don't do anything, but yours, we celebrate and have 3 or 4 dinners, So we kind of get left out. That's a part of not fitting in too. Because we're giving, because we're aware, because we can see, I know what you need. And we have this knee-jerk response that we want to help. Because we know we came to do something big, so why not help you?
So you've just reminded me of someone there. Is it possible to be an old soul and just still get to old age and still deny it and still try and hide it.
Yes. And be miserable. Because when you're not being your authentic self, you are not at peace. You are not at ease. You are creating drama no matter what. And if you're creating drama out of alignment, you're out of alignment for you and everybody else. It's wild how that works. So being out of alignment makes you feel very uncomfortable. It's a hard place to be. I'm irritated. I know I came to do something bigger. I know I'm not supposed to be poor. I know I'm supposed to have abundance. I know I'm supposed to have what I want. That is painful. And actually, because of the awareness of older souls, it's actually more painful because we're more aware. Can you see how all that works? So if you're in denial of who you are, and you're in denial of some of these patterns, which is why I wrote that book, The 65 Signs That You're an Older Soul. The reason I wrote that book is it is an introduction only to older souls to let them see themselves. And if they work through the exercises and write their own stories, their consciousness is going to completely change. Even though it's a small book, it doesn't have that many words. It's got over 5,000 words. But the exercise of you putting yourself on those pages and admitting, wow, I have every single symptom. I have every single sign. I have stories that match. I didn't even go into much of the stories.
No.
And that's where some of the free ebook is coming in. I'm going to give a bunch of things away around this because older souls is all that I work with. It's the only people that come to me and has been for years. Yeah.
And I'm realizing the more I'm looking into this, that I am surrounding myself with old souls. All the new souls are dropping off. They've dropped off, gone.
Yes. Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah. My dog I'm babysitting is barking.
That's okay.
Little Flynn. I call him Baby Wonderful. He's precious.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely surrounding myself. And the more I'm looking into it, the more I realize that I'm even getting closer and closer. And I know who is in that group.
Isn't that interesting?
And
when did you start coming to that recognition?
I've never heard of the term. Probably the beginning of this year, I've done an absolute 360 in my whole brain. It was probably been coming for a lot of years before that. But at the beginning of the year, I've done a real 360. And I don't know whether it's an awakening. I don't know what that really is or what that means. But yeah, and probably a month ago, I've got, all this year, it's been like I've just been hit with a hammer, one after the other, after the other. And probably I stopped being able to sleep. And in March, someone said to me, why don't you journal before you go to sleep? Well, and I went, okay, I'll try that. And I tell you what, I'm sleeping beautifully now. But I'm getting things out of my head. And as the listeners who are following me on Facebook, I'm always putting my soul writings, and it's at nighttime. I just journal, and God only knows what's going to come out. And usually it's got something to do with the day, and it's always about my life, but I know that it affects everybody else's as well. And it's just all absolutely bubbling up to the surface. So then, when I started talking to you, I just, my mouth dropped open, and you were just saying things that, you
have become aware of. Well, it's almost like there's a summoning, there's a wooing right now of older souls starting to unite. I'm actually going to start a membership and a group learning together. And guess what the name of it is? Older Souls Tribe.
Yeah.
You found your tribe. You found your village. You found your people.
Yeah.
And you really, really would benefit from having that support as an older soul. So what's happening to you? Would you like for me to explain it? What's happening?
Please do.
Okay. So for years, there has been a big fight within you about living small and stepping out, and it's uncomfortable. It hurts. It's like experiencing a death. It's painful. There's things called dark night of the soul, where you don't even want to be here. You don't want to live, which is another commonality of older souls. A lot of us think about suicide. The rest of us just are like, I don't understand why I'm here. Let me go. I started saying that to God at 13. If this is all you got, let me go. All I see is people hurting each other. I don't understand why people are so mean. I don't understand why they gossip. I don't understand why they, tear people down and judge them. I don't like this. Take me out of here.
Yep.
But I came to do a certain curriculum. And then for you, there has been a summoning and a wooing and an awakening, and something shifted inside of you that said, I'm miserable being here. And then when you're miserable enough, the transition occurs. You have shifted, and you're in that, you're about to hit another threshold, by the way. I can tell where people are in the journey and how close they are to the next threshold. You're this close to passing through another doorway where there's another awakening. It's almost like some people call a Kundalini experience, except it's a death and rebirth in some ways. A part of you, the fake identity, the one that believes, and I'm talking about that in the free ebook too, the death of the identity, to the death of who you think you are, the persona that you think, no, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I've experienced. If you really understand that the only reason that you have experienced this is because you're an older soul, then you start to embrace that. And then you start to realize you have supernatural abilities that you earned. Let's teach you how to use those abilities. So I tell some people, I say, it's almost like you were knighted in the last lifetime. And you went through the whole process, the king, the queen, everybody's, it's on your shoulder. You get this sword that's a double-edged sword, and then you bring it in this lifetime because you earned it, and you're wielding it, and you get cut and other people get cut, and we don't understand why they're cut. And that's one of the symptoms of older souls, is we're trying to help. And because of our awareness, it's like we're speaking Greek to people who don't speak Greek. And because we're aware, we're trying to help. So we're talking about it from what we think is a very simplistic view, but it's like their brains are clouded. They can't see it. They can't hear it. They can't understand it. What are you talking about? And then we want to hide. So there's that hiding feeling that you went through most of your life. And isn't it interesting that you decided to do a podcast where you're going to have to speak?
Yeah. Well, November, I got introduced to vulnerability, and I sort of went, no, I'm not going to be vulnerable, because to me, vulnerability meant to be attacked by people. And it's like, I am never going to be vulnerable. And someone said, you need to go and look at Brene Brown's stuff and really work out what vulnerability is. So I did, and I made that my word for this year. And I talk about that all the time. Vulnerability is my word. And I am being so honest, so out there, and I am just waiting, especially in Australia with our tall poppy syndrome. I'm absolutely waiting for the day my head gets chopped off, and it's not getting chopped off. That's the thing that's even amazing me even more, is people are ignoring me, I think, but at the same time, they're not chopping my head off.
Yeah.
So
well, that's from another life where your head did get chopped off. Yes.
Yeah, I am waiting. Yeah, I'm waiting for it, but it's not happening. But I don't know what is happening also. But I'm absolutely just blowing everything out. It's just pouring. And yeah, so I'm doing a podcast, and I am talking to everybody, and I'm being open. And I was doing lives the other day, and I talked about things that I thought I'd never talk about. And I am really being authentic to 100%. I don't think I'm hiding anything now.
You're letting go of the fake identity, and the real you gets to come out and play now.
And
Yeah.
honestly, honesty was my biggest value, and being honest and open was exactly who I thought I was. Authenticity, I thought was incredible. Well, I don't think I've ever been that. I've never lied, but at the same time, I've
Right.
never been honest either.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
You get to now.
Oh, there's still a bit inside me that still feels sick every time I say this stuff.
Mhm. It's almost like you're shedding clothes that you didn't know you piled on that other people put on you. Oh, okay, I'll be that for you because that'll make you feel good. I'll do that for you. I'll minister to you. We don't have boundaries. Older souls have a hard time with boundaries, and we get into
Yeah.
codependency because we enable people to mistreat us and to keep on their behavior, thinking that if they hang out with us enough, they'll get it. So then we
Yes.
tell them, and telling somebody something doesn't work. Doesn't. Setting boundaries and learning what your values are, what your priorities are, and then honoring those, and then setting boundaries based on that, making decisions based on your abilities that you have, those sensitivities that you have, that awareness that you have would be wiser used by making decisions based on what you see, feel, hear, taste, sense, and know. So one of the things that I'm going to do is to teach older souls the problems, the symptoms, the way they've lived, the why, put the puzzle together for them, and then transition them to getting rid of the fake identity, coming out, which is what you're in the process of. It's almost like you've been in an egg and it's cracking open and you're kind of coming out going, wait a minute, I'm comfortable with some of this, but I'm not comfortable with some of this. I don't feel like I have my legs. You see, it's like you're coming out of your cocoon or your cave or your egg. And then you start to run. And then the really good part of this is that you can use your abilities to actually do conscious alchemy, where you can think a thought and that thing comes to you.
Oh,
It
yes.
just comes out of thin air.
Mm.
That's using your abilities for you. We have been taught that you use your abilities for somebody else so that they feel good. But here's the crazy thing about this. So I want you to think about this from this perspective. If you're the most aware person around and you want somebody else to lead, or you want somebody else to step up because you want to hide, because you know that you make people uncomfortable, you're not being the leader that you came here to be. And these people don't have the awareness that you have, and you're upset because why don't they get this? I was working with the client and I was actually in her home, and we were on a train. We were taking a 12-hour train ride, and we're just sitting there with the recorder and we're working on that 12-hour train ride. And one of the things that I was telling her is, you have a habit of thinking that your employees are just going to one day wake up and get it. That is the denial of you having the awareness and not stepping in to lead and teach them and show them. So you're all miserable. And it's your business. But that's one of the commonalities of leaders, is that we would rather somebody else do it. We don't really want to come out. We don't really want to be seen. We don't really want to have to deal with this because it's been so painful doing it before, you see.
Oh.
So we automatically, no, don't put me in that position. No, don't. I remember I went through a period of time when I was living that book, The Inmate and the Medium. I was living that story. And I remember being in the Villages, Florida, and I was trying to hide everywhere I went. I would go to a mediumship class and I would hide, and they would call me out. What are you doing here? You should be teaching me. What are you doing taking mediumship from me? And I'm like, please, please, please. The teacher is a student. And I would say that very softly, and he'd say, no, we're dealing with this. And then guess what? I wasn't invited back because the teacher spent 45 minutes asking me questions and wanting me to help him. And then they kept having the class and I got disinvited because at the lady's house that it was, she didn't like me knowing more than her. And I went in there trying to hide. I went in there going, I'm not going to speak. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to listen to what this guy has to say. I'm a sponge. I want to learn. I'm sure he's got something to teach me. And he's like, he literally was cussing. He was cussing. He was a very irreverent spiritual guy. And I love that about him. He was from England. And he had gone to a mediumship school in England. And he just goes around the room and scans me and stops and goes, what the F are you doing in here? You should be teaching me and every single person at that mediumship school. What are you doing in my class? And I was like, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. Don't. I didn't want to be known. I was in hiding and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You're going to make a big splash no matter what you do. So learning to go from trying to play small where you don't have abundance, you don't have what you want, you're not using your abilities, you believe that you're a pain in the butt to some people, to transitioning to I am. And then I am that magic presence, which is every single person on this planet. And every single person that comes in, I am the magic presence. I am God and God is me, and I am not separate from you and anyone else. So one of the symptoms is that older souls want to sit around the campfire and sing Kumbaya and just love each other. Why can't we have innocence?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we struggle with. But now I realize that it's a game we're playing. So why not use the contrast? And then it becomes more of an adventure and more fun. But that's a huge transition, Loren, from living small, wanting to hide, believing that our presence makes people uncomfortable, because it does, because we're leaders and instigators. You remember when they talked about Jesus going into a temple, I don't remember what age he was, 11, 12 years old, and he was confounding people. He was an older soul. That's what we do. We go into spaces and we make people uncomfortable. And now I just go, this would be fun to watch this. Some people, this was interesting, when I announced that the Older Souls book was out, people unsubscribed and I went, thank you. You didn't belong in this tribe. That's good. If there's an ease, there's a peace, there's a namaste, I see you, and I'm good with what you're choosing right now. There was no judgment, no feeling of, wow, they're lost. I'm like, thank you. Because if this doesn't resonate with you, you're not supposed to be here. You're in the wrong place for where you are. And I'm happy that you're aware enough to check out of that.
Oh my God. You've hit two huge things on my inside me and this time. One, when I was in my 30s and I had chronic fatigue and I could hardly move, I went to see a lady who was she did Reiki and all sorts of energy healings and stuff. Anyhow, I came home and my husband said, what did you get from that? And I said, I don't know, but whatever she did, I can do too. And he says, oh, I'll do it on me. For the rest of our married life, and he'd say, I need your hands on me. And he'd lay down and I would throw energy through him. And I don't know what I did. I just did it. And he was always asking me to do it. So whatever I did, I absolutely was helping him, 100%. But I've never told one other person in my entire life. You are the first person to ever hear me say that I have healing hands and I can do energy work. Because I don't know what I did. I have no clue. Now,
you're a conduit.
The next thing that really got me was I have a girlfriend and we were always going to do a business together and we just didn't quite get it together.
Mhm.
And I was thinking the other day, and I'm really pissed off with this friend. She'll know exactly who I am when she hears this, and I'm going to tell her to listen to it, because she is the out there, and all I wanted to do was be the back end and get it going, and she could be the presence on stage.
That's the problem.
Oh,
We're doing the opposite of what we came here to do.
yeah.
And when you're doing that, you're in pain and you're going to suffer and you're going to get stuck and you're not going to get what you want in life.
Yep.
And one of the biggest ways that it hits is a lack of abundance.
Mm.
How are you going to get that when you're trying to play small, when you're playing big? Does that make sense?
Mm.
Most older souls want other people to lead. We don't want to step into that role. And it's only because of what our families and friends and teachers and other people showed us. You make me uncomfortable. My biggest fear in life was, do I hurt you by being here? And that happened to me when I was 12, and I decided to kill myself because I'm walking down the hall and my mother is screaming over the medical bills. That was because of me, because I got really sick. And I remember freezing in the hall and going, well, you know, if you weren't here, that she was saying, we're going to lose our house. And hearing that as a 12-year-old that's innocent,
Oh,
that
God.
the
Yeah.
doctors thought was going to die. And then all of a sudden we've just moved in this new house. And my mother's saying that because of me, they're going to lose their house, which they didn't, by the way. But hearing that traumatized me. And that was a big catalyst. And if everybody really thinks about it, you've got a story like that. You have got a story like that where there was some big event that made you feel, I need to play small because I'm hurting people by being here. I make people uncomfortable. And now I'm like, I make people uncomfortable. Either listen or run. I'm good. I'll do like this and just love you. I'll hug you if you let me before you leave. It's perfect. It's perfect because everybody is on the journey, but different people are at different levels. So as you climb that mountain or get higher, the tree thing is a really good way to look at it. It gets clearer and clearer and clearer, and you see more and you're aware of more and you understand more. And you can breathe better because there's no smog, you know, up there. The smog is low, dense, it's heavy, you know.
I hear. I hear. Yeah, my mother told me that the only reason we lived in the city was because I was so different and I had to come to Melbourne to be so socialized. So
You are such a problem to be with.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. It's because we get confused as to what roles our family is actually playing. And the role that they're actually playing for us is a really big one. And we want them to love us because we know that there's a need for unconditional love. So for me, when my father was not protective and my mother would get in bad moods and we would get beatings, I didn't have a parent that showed me, you're worthy of my love and being protected. You're worthy, you matter. You know, we were like the whipping post. So what happened was that very often my view of God comes from who your parents are. And if you haven't been protected, which is one of the commonalities of older souls, we will pick families that are going to give us the most pain. So the journey is, for me, is self-love, which what I have found is the highest mastery level to grow to in this lifetime is self-love. So when you think my parents don't love me and God ordained them to love me, then I'm not lovable.
Oh, yeah. I hear you. Oh, I hear you so much.
but really they're playing that curriculum so that you will learn self-love. Because if they didn't play that curriculum, then they would be hindering your ability to learn self-love. Because if you're loved, what do you need it for? If you're nurtured, if you're cared for, if you're safe, if you're all these things, if you automatically have it, then what would be the need for you to grow?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So my parents played the most beautiful role by not giving me unconditional love. They loved me the best they could, but they played that role. And I tell you, it's just like the guy that stole all of my money and I became homeless in the book, The Inmate and the Medium. If I were to see Ken right now, who I called Kent, if I were to see him right now, guess what I would do? I would run up and jump in his arms and say, thank you. You played that role so well that I became a conscious alchemist. And I learned the universal laws and I learned the spiritual laws. And now I don't really need anything because I can just think it and it comes. If I'm not in resistance.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I hear you.
So see, everybody that hurts you, perceived hurt, that you take your identity from, actually played a very key role in your growth if you use it. If you don't use it, you're going to be a victim for the rest of your life.
You've just explained to me why my father was taken from me. When I was early 30s, but it was like once he left, there was no one.
You weren't safe. And
Yeah,
guess what?
absolutely.
It shows a female body, and females in this lifetime, guess what the number one issue is? Number one issue for women is, am I safe with you? Am I safe? So we chose female bodies, female personas, female, I'm not safe, to do this kind of work. We're freaking brave.
Yeah, yeah.
We stack the cards, and guess what? We do choose these lifetimes in between, and we have meetings. I've seen the contracts that people sign. I've seen their team. I've seen the meetings. I've seen them try on the bodysuit or go, no, that body's fine. You know, we as women have a tendency to worry about our hair is not as good as hers. The problem is that we will compare our worst with her best every time. And it's never going to stack up. So for me, I don't have a really small waist. I never have. I never will. But the very first thing that I would look on at another woman is whether or not she had a small waist. And I would wish that I had that waist, but I was forgetting that I chose to not have a small waist. I chose that. So we worry about the most stupid things that are trivial, that really don't matter, and we get hung up on them when actually we're here for a much higher purpose. It's not about our looks. It's not about our hair. It's not about our skin. It's not about our body. We chose that intentionally. Getting to that place of learning to use it is moving from disempowered to empowered and standing and saying, come on, I got this. And that's what I've been through. You know, you mentioned some of the things that I've been through. 4 divorces. I could tell you some wild stories about those 4 divorces and what I learned. Homelessness, very abusive parents on both ends, one overtly, one by not protecting and knowing that we were being beaten. But I love these people because now I get it. I understand the game I'm playing. And I'm really so thankful for them. And I love them unconditionally.
Mm.
And it's a great place to be with love, because ultimately that's what we've always known we need is love. When the Beatles sang that song, all you need is love, that is it. Love settles, calms everything. So my parents and I conspired that they would not give me that so that I would learn it. It was a very hard journey. Very hard journey. Not easy. But we didn't come here to do things small either, did we, Lorraine?
Oh,
We
God,
didn't.
no. No. No,
Yeah.
not at all. Mm.
Right.
Mm.
I've noticed that when I talk to you, you're very emotional. It's like you're remembering things. And when you cry a lot or you get emotional, it's like something is triggering your remembering. And the way that I describe it is you're remembering. You're coming back together. You're starting to remember the things that you knew previously that you're getting reintroduced to. You know these things, just like when you were in front of the Reiki master. And I'm going to tell you, because I'm a Reiki master, because my sister demanded that I go take this with her. I used something way, way, way beyond Reiki. And what happened to you was that when you got introduced to the energy of it, you remembered who you were and you connected with that. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Then I went on and I did Reiki 1 because I thought, well, I better go and learn this stuff. So I did Reiki 1 and I went, what a load of bullshit. I know more than this. And it's like, I can't tell the guy who's teaching me that, like, oh, no, forget it. So I walked away and thought, I'm not getting that qualification because I can do it better than that. So
I went through it
no,
and did the
I better not do this because I don't know what I'm doing because I don't have the qualification, even though I know more.
That's a symptom of an older soul. We usually go to people to learn that we know more than them, and we get frustrated and we don't know why we're frustrating.
Yeah.
I went through
Very
that.
much. Yeah.
I did. I went through that. Yeah.
So now I did wonder about whether doing, level 2 and 3 with someone else so I could get the conversation, the piece of paper that I needed. And I thought, no, I don't think I can work with them because I still think that I know more. But how do I know more than someone who's already an expert? Oh,
I
my
finished
ego.
the
Oh,
course
pat it down,
because,
Lorraine, pat it down.
yeah, I was enjoying the course with my sister. So it was a weekend for us to travel. So we did it 3 times. I think there's 4 levels, and we
Yeah.
became Reiki masters. And I did it at a spa for a little bit, not very long, because I'm like, I had this woman that came into the spa and she was from another state. And I had talked to the spa owner and said, do you know about Reiki masters? And did you know that Dr. Oz, famous heart surgeon that's on TV, will not do heart surgery unless you agree to let a Reiki master work on you while you go through the process of surgery and recovery. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but that's how he used to practice. So I went to the spa and I'm sitting down with her and I've got all this paperwork and I'm like, Dr. Oz, and she's like, Tammy, put it away. I already know. I've been waiting on a Reiki master. I didn't know that you just got your certificate. So let's go. We're going to book people with you. So this woman came in from another state. She booked. The spa called and said, can you come and do this hour? And I'm like, yes. And she told me, she said, I want you to know that I'm hypersensitive. And at the end of every single Reiki session with my Reiki master that I go to on a regular basis, the last 10 minutes, I'll usually start seeing the colors yellow all in the room. Within 5 minutes, she's like, wait. And I stopped and I said, do I need to stop? And she said, I see yellow. I already see it. What are you doing? Because it takes my Reiki master in almost an hour to get me to that point. 5 minutes, you're doing it. I said, sit back, relax, and let's get on this ride. But I was learning about myself. you know, by being a Reiki master for other people, I was realizing you're doing something. And even my daughter, who's hypersensitive, said, you're doing something beyond Reiki. And I said, yep, I am. But that helped me to step into it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Step into it even more, because when I separated from it for 13 years, it was hard to come back. I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust whether or not the messages that I were hearing were actually legitimate. I didn't trust that I was really getting information, even though I had functioned that way. But for 13 years, you don't say God's name, you don't pray, you don't go to church, you don't do anything that reminds you of that life. You don't lay hands on people. You don't even mention that you have abilities. And then all of a sudden they come back. They never left, but the wooing, the summoning, because I had said at the end of that, take this away from me. Don't send one other person to my house. I'm exhausted and I'm in a really bad marriage and I've got to save myself. I'm saving other people. I'm rescuing other people. I'm healing other people, but I'm not doing it for me. That 13 years was about self-healing. It was about standing up. It was about learning boundaries. It was about not being in codependent relationships. It was about learning what a narcissist does and the traits of a narcissist. I was never not working, but I wasn't looking at it as I'm doing the work, I'm doing the work, I'm doing the work, but I was. So then when all of a sudden the information is coming back in, I'm like, I don't know if I can trust it. I don't, is that me? Is that, you know, some disincarnate being? Is that an entity talking to me? I mean, what's talking to me? And then I started to get more into asking, you know, I'm dramatic. So give me the information dramatic, or give it to me 3 times. I remember one time saying, if you really want me to do that, then tomorrow morning outside my door is going to be a wet newspaper. And the next morning, without any rain and a gated front yard with bars and brick, there was a wet newspaper at my door. I'm like, okay, because I was asking because I didn't trust myself. So we don't take those steps to go, I want to collaborate with you and I really want to know, is this real? Give me another sign. Have somebody else say this to me or whatever. And then people in stores would just walk up to me and go, okay, when are you going to do this? And then they'd walk off and I'd go, what? And they would look like, I know that there were angels that appeared to me doing the same thing, because they would disappear in front of my eyes. As soon as I would get it and I'd start crying, that being would disappear right in front of my eyes. And I go, okay, I'm getting it. I'm getting it. I'm getting it.
Oh, wow.
We're not used to looking for things like that. We're not used to collaborating. We're not used to being real and saying, I need more than this. Yeah, just ask.
Yeah, asking is a real thing. I worked out that I needed to learn what I even wanted, which is why I think I said to you that last week I did a list of, and I put it out as a challenge for everyone in the Facebook group, you know, a list of 100 things you want.
Yes.
And it took me 3 nights to do. Now, I think the first time I ever did it, it took me over a week to do, you know, and I was struggling coming up with 10 things each time. It was like, oh my goodness, where this time it was only 3 nights, you know, and shorter nights. So it was like, yeah.
That's good.
So yeah, yesterday I had exercises given to me from you and it was like, yep. I can do this.
Yes, you can. We're not used to thinking very deeply. We're used to living in this shallow world, but we're deeper beings. So an older soul always has to have more. An older soul always has to learn. An older soul has to be moving. We can't stand stagnation. We can't stand being stuck. We can't stand running on the hamster wheel and getting exhausted. So I started honoring that about myself and just talking to God about it. I remember one day I was being asked to do something and I was like, no, I'm not doing it. Come and get me. Do me a favor. Take me out. You know exactly where I am. Come and get me. Do me a favor. I'm in the car right now. help me out of here. And I would hear laughter, like, there she is. There she is. She's becoming honest. She's becoming transparent, which is really the synonyms for being authentic. That is really what we have to do to transition to the I am magic presence. And I've got this. It's a transition, and it's not easy to do on your own. I can tell you that. So I'm going to offer things that help people to do it, because it really requires support and an understanding. When you get the clarity, like you have been getting, when you get the clarity, then there's a surety, and you don't feel insecure, and you don't feel scared, and you don't feel it. But when you don't have somebody to share that with, it's like it doesn't anchor. Does that make sense? It's like the foundation is kind of shaky.
Oh, you wonder if you're going nuts.
Yes.
I think
yeah,
I'm losing my mind. Well, yeah. Tammy, our conversation has been absolutely fantastic, and I could just sit here and talk to you for hours and hours and hours and hours and never leave you.
Oh, but we can't keep people that long.
No, we can't keep people that long. How do people find you? And what's
very simple? Very simple. Just go to my website, tammydemirza.com, and you can put that in your information. De Mirza is spelled DEMIRZA.com. Sign up for my email. I give a lot of free content. I'm all over social media. I have a YouTube channel. I have TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all these things. I do give a lot of free content. I do offer classes and courses and programs and a lot of different things. So I balance, the work with free content, if that makes sense. Yeah.
And well and truly, if anybody's resonated with this, which I'm sure everyone who would be drawn to listen to this would, then it's well and truly worth looking up and having a look at. And the 2 books you've got so far, and you're working on a 3rd one?
I've got a 3rd one written. I'm actually working on a 4th one, but I haven't had it professionally edited. And that's another series about relationships. But I have a feeling that when I got this wisdom about 4 weeks ago, I'm laying in my bed, because people have transition times, and that's when they get more information. For me, it's waking up and not leaving the bed. And I got this urgent, write about the older souls now, right now. They're starving for it. They're hurting. They're crying. They're wanting something like this. Will you write this and put the relationship book aside? And I went, yes. And that book was written in 2 days, and I worked both of those days. So I was just doing a few hours, but it was channeled. And then I had it edited. I got a book cover. I got it published, and it was published within a month. It wasn't because it took me that long. It was the editors and the book cover design, and then now that's there. I have a feeling that when people read that, because it's just an introduction, it's not meant to teach you more than that.
Yeah.
After that, they're going to want a series of those older souls books. And I'm offering workshops about it and transitioning to what I said. And the workshops, doesn't matter where you live, because it's what they call a hybrid. It's online and in person in Austin, Texas.
Yep. And here am I in Australia attending your workshop.
Yes. And it's easy.
So,
right?
And it's easy. Yeah.
Yeah. So no matter where you are, your needs can be met.
Yes. Yeah. Well and truly.
Yes.
With the internet and Zoom, it is just fantastic nowadays.
It is. It's good. Thank you so much for having me, Precious.
Oh, thank you so much for talking. It was just absolutely sensational. And I'm sure everyone got more than I got out of this. So thank you.
I hope that it instigates a peace as well as a hunger for more, because that's an older soul. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you and I agree.
Okay.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Wow, Love Light, the podcast. Look, a special thank you to Tammy De Mirza, who shared her knowledge with us today. And wow, what an amazing woman she was. Oh, just an incredible. Now, each Friday we release new episodes and we speak to all sorts of different, incredible, inspirational women, just like Tammy. Now, I know you enjoyed the podcast, so please subscribe, share it with your friends, press the subscribe button so you never miss another episode. Oh, I'd love it if you gave us a 5-star rating too. That would really help us. And leave us a review. We'd really love to hear from you. We're really open to hearing your takeaways from this episode and all the other episodes you've listened to as well. Now, I'm Lorraine Roberts. I'm a productivity strategist. And if you need help reinventing your life, getting into action, then I'm the person you need. Having someone on your team who gives you ideas, methods, and ways of doing things, as well as being an accountability buddy, could be exactly what you need. So you make the changes to get the results in your life and put you ahead of the game. So get in touch with me and have a free strategy session with me. Really, what have you got to lose? Now, each Monday morning, if you're in Australia, that is, or Sunday night if you're in the States, we run the Goal Achievers Strategy Session, where you will be able to network with like-minded business people, do a meditation practice, and work on your own weekly to-do list. This session will help you organize your time more efficiently, give you new ideas and methods on how to do things, so you increase the chances of reaching your goals and targets, so you can make the changes to get the best results in your business and life and put you ahead of the game. So if you think this is beneficial to you and exactly what you need and having someone on your team, then get in touch with me. If you need a break, a rest, or need to focus on your business, each year I take a small group of women to a different location around the world where we will be working on your personal goals, business goals, doing some spiritual work and having some fun as well. Now, next year I'm taking a group of women to the rice fields in Bali. We would love you to join us. So get in touch fast to reserve your spot. Now you can get in touch with us either through Facebook, through the community group on Facebook, Instagram, or you can go to the website www.lovelighinspire.com. Now, thank you very much to my producer, Nissa. She is the person who's put this together for you. She's made it sound as good as it really is. Please remember that the information today and spoken about is just general information. It's not about you. So if you need some help, need assistance, or more information, please consult with an expert or get professional advice.